Hello, my name is Mitch and I draw Blood Force, and today we're picking up what we dropped last time because we were laughing too hard, Brigade. But first we're going to ask ourselves the age-old question. What is Blood Force? This is Blood Force. Blood Force is a celebration / send-up of 90s extreme comics. It's itself a comic book. It's drawn by me and also written by me. It's all me. I'm to blame for this. So you may be asking yourself, how do I go about reading Blood Force? And the answer is, you open up the description to this video. In there you'll find a link to my Patreon. Subscribe there. That will give you access to all of the Blood Force pages. It'll also give you access to all the process stuff. I usually include stuff like just pencils lying out there. You'll get all the videos. You'll also get some pre-Blood Force stuff. All this just for $3 American. It's an absolute steal. And of course, the more subscribers we get, the closer we get to the goal of publishing Blood Force. But that's a ways off. First thing we got to do, baby steps, is we need subscribers first. So subscribe today, read some Blood Force comics, help get Blood Force out on those shelves. And this certainly sounded like I had a third thing to say, but I don't. All right, so we're back with Brigade number 3, and we're going to start with the cover date because I like to compare that shit. And this one, October to February. Man, that's quite a gap. And I have to wonder why that is. I know Merritt Michaels is about 20 when this comic is being drawn. And I have to assume he was trying to get a start in the world of comics. I mean, he is still in the world of comics these days, so it would make sense. So I don't know if it was a case of Rob was taking too long on the story. Maybe. Although I think he's still got Eric Stevenson helping him out with this one. Yeah. So if it's all down to Merritt, that doesn't speak too well. Because I probably got the rates wrong in my last Brigade video. I just remember hearing him discussing the first time and being fucking blown away. But I think we can agree if these are 20-page issues, he was probably paying around the neighborhood of $10,000 an issue, right? And so I'm not saying I could complete a 20-page story when I was 20 years old, but for 10 grand, I would have given it a shot, I think. So, part of me has to wonder if this is just Rob assuming that Merritt's kind of like him and is all go-getter about his shit, and he's kind of not. I don't know. I have no idea. Anyway, so let's take a look at the cover. This is kind of funny. I originally thought, man, this is one of the better Liefeld covers, actually. These poses aren't bad. It's kind of iconic. We get kind of different characters than we've been getting. It's all been the Battlestone show up till now. And, I don't even see these poses too often from Liefeld. And I swear, just recently occurred to me to look at the signature here. That's not a Liefeld signature. It's very much done in a Liefeld style. Like everything. It's a very good copy, actually. But this is, like I said, a pretty good cover, actually. I would have actually given Liefeld some plaudits for getting that right. But no, it wasn't for you. It was Paul Scott, apparently. And Paul Scott doesn't draw a whole lot more for Image, as far as I can understand. There's like an issue or two here or there. He does ink this, I think. Yes, and he's inked a couple of other Brigade issues. So, that's something. Good job, Paul. You didn't do anything aside from the figures, because this is photo, and this looks like a fucking template of some kind. But the figures look pretty good, so that's something. So we should do a quick recap of what happened in the last couple of books. Issue 1, Brigade was tanning at the beach, and then they went and stopped some terrorists and knocked a building over. Issue number 2, an alien came down and punched them, and then they punched him back, and then a building fell over. And then they teleported aboard an alien ship. So that's kind of all we've seen so far, but that's not too bad for episodic first couple of issues. First issue, you see your team in action against a bunch of nobodies. Second issue, you introduce some kind of bad guy, and then put them into even hotter water. That's not bad for a progression, really. So, what is the hot water that they're into? We don't really know yet. We know that the bad guys know genocide. That's about it. So here it turns out that it's Crown Prince Genocide, and they're under the impression that Brigade attacked him. And the knowledge has just driven this guy cross-eyed. And so Brigade have to quickly formulate a plan against all the screen doors. They're still doing this. This is like blown up. I don't even know if they changed the rate here. Yep. About the same size. It's interesting seeing the thick and thin. Like they're trying to make it look stylish. There's not a lot you can do with that. So, Battlestone tries to yell at them to get them to release him, and that doesn't work, even with his comically enlarged hand and his big balloon finger. So, they're supposed to face execution immediately. We don't really have an idea of where these guys are, where these magistrates are. Oh, looks like he's on the lip of the arena here. They've done a very poor job of establishing the geography of wherever these guys are. But, you know, we weren't expecting anything more than that. Oh, one thing we should point out, this once again has Richard Horry as technical assistant. And last time we got like one page of Richard Horry art, which is the big spaceship on page 1. Shboing. And this time, it looks like he's not going to do any... I took a flip through. He's not going to do anything big on this one. He's just going to put little touches here and there so that everything doesn't look too blank. Because there's going to be a lot of blank. So, they hear that they're going to be executed, and they're like, we're out of here. And then they're like, so what are we doing? We're fucking running with the speed lines, man. Come on. And their first plan is to burn through the wall, and that apparently worked, kind of. And that's not a great angle. But you know, we're gonna be saying that over and over again. And it looks like little tiny KO is riding on Battlestone here. All right, way to go. We forgot stasis, didn't we? I feel like that happens a lot. Because Stasis has the least interesting powers, and of course she gets killed off in the next issue, I think it was. Or maybe it's issue 1 of the next series. She gets killed off at some point. Sorry for spoilers. So they blast through the wall, and they get chased by shadows. I kind of have an idea of what he was going for here. With just like, you know, stuff coming out of the shadows, and it looking like a mass, and he didn't really do that very well. And they should be inside the walls here, but he appears to be still at the outside of the top of the arena here, and still looking down on them. Unless this is some sort of video screen. I suppose it could be. And Brigade immediately hit a dead end. They have no plan. They have nowhere to go. And so they're... Oh, man. Oh, the 6-panel grid. Oof, that's rough. Talk about some undynamic shit. And Merritt Michaels doesn't know how to draw shit this small. So everything just looks weak. So, I mean, at least we're getting a bunch of punches. That's something, right? And then Thermal gets the idea that maybe they can burn through the ground here. And that seems to work. It makes a perfect little circle here. And Merritt Michaels didn't draw fucking shit after here. Left it up to Brian Murray. And Richard Horry didn't even have anything to augment on this page. So they are on some like floating thing. They weren't at the beginning here. And yet I think they were at the end of issue 2. Well, you know what? There's no real indication. Nope. So this is the first we're seeing of this floating thing. And Richard Horry gets to earn a couple extra bucks here. He's putting some panels on. And so these guys ask the magistrates if they should follow them into the tunnels. And they're like, nah, they'll probably die in the tunnels, which, you know, there's no good reason for them not to follow them into the tunnels, but it's classic villain shit. So, sure. And then even if they survive the tunnels, there's always the factor. Or we're running out of names for what to call groups. So they all hunker down and build a fire and try to come up with a plan. And Battlestone keeps going, no, we don't need a plan. We're just gonna punch people. And KO's like, okay, so they've got teleportation technology. Should we maybe get that? And Battlestone's like, yeah, that sounds all right. It's like, okay, well, how are we going to get there? Doesn't matter. We'll just punch him. It'll be fine. This is some of the least thought out story for a superhero comic I think I've ever seen. There is no plan whatsoever. So they're just sitting there and they hear a big old roar, and Battlestone runs out to see what it is because he's the leader, so naturally he's the one who should go check on shit instead of sending like fucking KO or something. And it turns out what's lurking in the tunnels is the liquefier. Get callbacks. Callbacks to shit that hasn't happened yet. Although it might have, actually. Hang on. Okay, Shadowhawk number 3 came out December 1992. It does predate Brigade number 3. And it's, there's some similarities there. Not quite 100%, but even down to the sliminess. Why's everything got to be slimy? And it attacks Battlestone, which draws blood, which should be impossible. Okay, so slight kind of plot twist, because we haven't heard anything about what Battlestone's deal is yet. And so I guess what we're figuring is he should be too indestructible for that to have damaged him that much. And we find out later on that's not the case, I believe. And so they let's put this beast out of business. We got to come up with some sort of catchphrase. That's not a catchphrase. It's not clever. It's just we're gonna say some cliched stuff. And I don't know what the fuck happened here. It doesn't necessarily look good. And stasis field doesn't work. And there's barely anything even... You can barely even tell what's going on. Seahawk manages to cut himself loose somehow. He has no swords. I'm pretty sure KO should have swords or something, shouldn't he? And he flies around and says he's going to have them free, and then they're free. Was he headbutting all those tentacles? That's about the only thing I can think. And then he punches him, and Taram. Yeesh. Man, that's not the best lettering. Who's doing the lettering on this? Kurt Hathaway? Kurt Hathaway. Okay. It's acceptable, I suppose. And they beat the monster by Cold Snap freezes it, and then he punch. Again, we couldn't think of a clever way to do anything, so... Okay, so here we've got some more of the terrible cards. That's actually not too bad. That one's still pretty bad. They're just kind of hanging out, and then he drew a background behind them, I guess. Background looks a little detailed. Interesting. These images are a little detailed. I kind of wonder how far they get shrunk down. Not for full-size pages, I'm sure. But they are. These images are still smaller than the regular collector card size. So anyway, back at the central control tower of the Imperial High Council, where we find what? Just literally what we find. And it turns out that the Earthlings have managed to escape. And the magistrate is super bored or something, or he's stuck in his chair because of the angle. I'm not sure if this is a Dutch angle. I suppose it is of some kind, but like the chair is still angled quite a bit more than it should be. So it looks like the chair fell backwards. And he just can't get out of there, particularly with the shadow. That's fun. And so he's changed his mind about Brigade. He's going to send in the Factor, but order that they don't kill Brigade. So we're going to see what the Factor is. We've had it teased for all of 5 pages. And this is Neil Gaiman Spawn Week. Very nice. Month. All right, so Brigade come up from the sewers somewhere else in the city. So I thought they were on a ship. Apparently not. They're in some kind of city somewhere. Even though it still looks like a ship. Maybe nobody told Mayor Michaels. And they get ambushed by fucking pigtails on that thing. But they get ambushed by the Factor. None of these guys had no pigtails. I guess this is supposed to be this thing. No. She don't got no floppy bunny ears. And so the Factor is supposed to take them in without killing them. Man, look how lame these fucking shots are. This is supposed to be a big pump-up panel, I guess. And I guess he's large here. That comes across at least. It doesn't here, really. But okay. And then Thermal and Cold Snap are going to attack the pigtails here at the same time, and she reverses them so that's not a bad deal. It looks like shit, but, you know, except for the Richard Horry panels in the background. Although even then, like, on stuff like this, it stands out a mile. You know? Where it's just like, this is very obviously not a Merritt Michaels thing. And you look at just how little Merritt Michaels drew on this page. And it's hilarious. So these two are pretty much untouched. I'll allow that this was probably a fully Merritt Michaels panel. Some of these fucking faces. These are terrible. And this one, just 6 tiny little figures. That KO one is almost identical. Yeah, that's what he was going for. Oh, just awful. So yeah, she reverses the blasts, which isn't a bad tactic actually for something like this. It's a little shocking they came up with something that clever. And then this guy is knocked down. And KO gets taken out pretty easily without any kind of special treatment, because of course he does, he's fucking KO. And then stasis powers just continue to not work. They haven't worked on anybody for a while, it feels like. And he does the old finger poke of doom from the WCW days. And then all that's left is Battlestone. And Battlestone squares off against Knockdown, which is, yeah, there's a sea-level name there, and gets handled fairly easily by Knockdown. Brigade gets handled fairly easily by a few guys. All this race, whatever this race is, Brigade does not seem to be able to handle them very well. And then Battlestone offends this guy. We haven't gotten any names yet, I don't think. Except for Knockdown. By saying, why don't you just kill us instead of talking about it? And so he's going to kill him instead of talking about it. But then they get rescued by Silverhawks. Apparently. We don't get a name. Fairly generic guys with wings. That's Brigade number 3. And then a bunch of way too complimentary letters. And it feels like they're starting to get a little tired of answering these, actually. This is because they're getting very short answers here. Just, is Battlestone the only member of Brigade formerly in Youngblood? Yes. How did Atlas, Thermal, Coldsnap, and Seahawk get their powers? Are they mutants? None of the characters in Brigade are mutants, John. How they got their individual abilities will be revealed in time. Who flies faster, Seahawk or Thermal? Seahawk. Ads say that Youngblood number 0 will reveal the origin of the Youngblood team. Will there be a Brigade number 0 too? Possibly, but exactly when has yet to be determined. Like, that is just the most blasé sounding responses. Just like, shit, do I really have to respond to this horse shit? It's like, yes, do you want a job, Eric Stevenson? It's like, I'm already writing 6 of your books, Rob. I don't need to respond to your letters too. And then we get what I'm pretty sure is Chap Yates' first contribution to Extreme Studios. He would become one of Rob's horses, like just guys that he would completely put on everything he could manage. He does get Team Youngblood. He also picks up the slack on regular Youngblood when Rob can't draw or something. I don't know. He doesn't do any of the drawing for Youngblood number 5, I think, which is only half an issue. Another ad for Bloodstrike and Brigade. And we get an ad for Youngblood Strike File, which I don't know if this is the book you want to advertise that in. Because, like, nothing else in here looks this kind of good. It does kind of, it even highlights how bad this is. That's some fantastic looking shit. We got like 2 of these in here, didn't we? Yeah, we did. Look at that. Yeah, just in case you missed it the first time. Okay, so that's Brigade number 3. Really not a whole lot to that. Just kind of a run around and get beat up by shit issue, really. Which I suppose that's, I don't know, the formula isn't too bad. The formula for the stories. It's not too dissimilar from what I did with Blood Force, actually, where you just come up with sort of a very generic idea for the team, and then you just, every issue you just kind of shift their situation a little bit. So that seems to be going okay. The dialogue is absolutely unreadable. It's not okay. And there's even like short moments of exposition in here, and it's just like, how dare you? How dare you slow me down getting through this issue? Maybe linger on these shots, you rat bastard. Okay, but I think I'll do it for now. Oh my god. We're almost done. We're getting there. Brigade number 4 coming up soon. So until then, just hit like if you like this video. Hit subscribe. Hit the notifications so you'll know when Brigade number 4 is coming out. You got to know when it's out so you'll know when you can watch my videos again after that. Then go over, follow me on Twitter. Most importantly, go over to my Patreon, subscribe there. That's where I keep all the Blood Force stuff, and it gives you access to these videos as soon as they drop. So, thanks again for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye. We're almost done. We're getting there. Brigade number 4 coming up soon.